Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. It is great to be with you all. Wrapping up another week here on 412 Productions. Let's see who's all out there chilling with us today. You guys know the drill. We'll do a little roll call and then officially start the broadcast at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. Q-Boys and Silbor out there on D Live. Great to see you guys. Helped if I actually had Rumble open. But yeah, about 30 of you watching to kick off the show. Nobody chatting yet, but thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button for us if you haven't already. Let's dive into pill.net, the comfy bunker. That's home, sweet home here. Let's see who's all hanging out. Delia down in Arizona, getting in there first today. Not far behind is our good friend Floyd, Due Diligence. And there's Lyle and Jenny, Packers 412 in the house. Let's go. Joe Elaine, our wonderful mod. What's up, Joe? How are you today? Patriot 714 and Lance Lightsphere. Kang Chris out there. Good to see you, Chris. Hope all is well, buddy. HL Paco, our Harold in there early as well. A fat ass fajita Friday cookie from Floyd. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate that. Barb Robbins out there. GMA Shark and Tweety 52. Cali Patriot 14. Welcome, welcome. Range Pony and Wisconsin in the house as well. Good to be with all of you. Good afternoon, Mr. Gerardo, Don Ritchie 17. Hey, Roy Stones and Bones over on the West Coast. Good to see you, sir. Sherry Pittsburgh repping the 412. Let's go, Sherry. Mountain Lace and Braves Piano out there. See ya on flip side. Flawless in USA. Qhio 17. Kaz 1012. Braves Piano, thank you for the cookie. Hey, there's Jenny. What's up, Curious One? Florida Mimi out there checking in from Clearwater. One of the most beautiful places in the entire country. Oz Stoneburner says Paul fucking Skeens. Dude is unreal, isn't he? Facts Not Fear. Good to see you. Pat McFly. Great to see you as well. Tipsy. 007 girl, what's going on? RFK Jr. dropped major red pills. I missed it. I missed it all. So maybe we'll watch it. How long was the speech? Is it worth watching again? Because I did not see any of it, if I could admit that. Um, I've had a crazy day so far. As soon as the show is over, I got a 3.5 hour drive up Buffalo for a wedding. It never ends. I feel like I've been away every weekend for the past month, and it's not slowing down until after September. But there you go. Trump Red Pill 1. Pip's mom over in Wales, UK. Good to see you. Caustic and Abrasive, welcome. Hey, Tony, why not? Good to see you, bud. Says much love, all hooking us up with a can. Cheers. Let's see who else is out there. Hey, what's up, Renee? 0304. Good to be with you. But yeah, let me know, guys. Is it worth replaying the RFK Jr. speech? I did not watch it. I have no idea what he said, but it seems like um I can't get past his voice. Yeah, it is hard to listen to him talk. Born Deplorables is not worth airing it entirely. Okay, well maybe there's some highlights, or we could find a way to grab some clips. I've been running around like crazy today trying to get ready to leave tonight for the wedding. And yeah, it's just been a crazy day. So we'll see how this goes. Renee, thank you for the cookie. Appreciate it. Two quicks is what's up to all you Cleveland Browns fans. Uh-oh. Oh man, the Browns, the Browns. What is there to say about the Browns? As a Steeler fan, nothing good. Rusty Cages, be a Bills fan. Good to be with you guys. All right. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Hey, what's up, Spirit 554? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you out there. All right, we'll be right back.
We will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
y'all for tuning in. Patriots united, doing what we gotta do to win. Be evicted, the MS7, now we're moving in. And once we take over, we won't ever move again. Where we go on, we go all. I say it with pride. No, we won't run, we won't fall. We're right by your side. The demons have taken hold, but none of us will abide. Stand strong and stand bold, that's how we'll survive. 412 is the production. Monday through Friday, deplorable discussions. We're making it hard for the deep state to function. Every time they switch up the narrative, we debunk it. Adult Nero is the power that's controlling the flight. With all the patriots behind them, cause we're all in this fight. So many rhymes for so long, but we're giving them sight. Trapped in the world of darkness, but we're bringing them light. You may even find yourself in a different life. A lot of us have, and honestly, that's perfectly fine. Because exactly where you are at this moment in life is where you're supposed to be at this moment in time. It's all by design, the patriots are holding the line. They must have lost theirs, thinking they're controlling our minds. So many trapped in mental prisons don't know they're confined. They're just slaves in the system till the roles are assigned. That's sad, the good news is that we're waking them up. They have monopolies on minds, but we're breaking them up. Everything you thought was news, they were making it up. When we ascend, all the tyrants won't be making the cut. Let them all burn in the hellscape they create. We the people already mapped out our escape. We hold each other by the hand as we all elevate and go to a different place. They can never get chased. When I look into the future, I can see that it's bright. When this history is written, they will see that we're right. We formed our own community and the circle is tight, but I expand the circle with every word that I write. The pen is sharper than the sword when you wield it with might. Why do you think they try to kick us off all the sites? These people hate America, punish us out of spite. We are the beacons of hope in the darkness of night. So let's go, strap in, yeah, get ready for the ride. Watch the water, we're witnessing the turning of the tide. Feel the passion and the fire that you got burning inside. Take the narrative they're feeding you and turn it to the side. We're alerted to the lies, replacing with the truth. We know the plan they devised, they're invading the youth. Now we're only incentivized to start raising our boots. These demons all weaponized. Now we're raising our troops. Now we're raising the roof and sounding the alarm. Remember that it's always darkest before the dawn. Life is a game of chess. They want to use you as a pawn. You're only useful until you're not useful, then you're gone. But not us, we're on the right team where we belong. Everybody is invited, so come follow along. We refuse to say things are right knowing they're wrong. Adult Nero, take the mic and take flight, cause it's on.
And now, straight from the Steel City, it's your host, 412 Adult Nero.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. It is amazing, as always, to be wrapping up another week with you guys here with a fresh installment of Deplorable Discussions. My name is Adol Nero. It is August 23rd, 2024. And as of right now, I am riding solo. I see Drunk Pinata was not live today, so I have no idea if he's going to be joining us. So shout out to Drunk Pinata and all you pinata holics out there tuning in. Yeah, I'm not sure where TN is or if he's going to be making it today either. I did not get messages from either of them saying they were going to miss the show today, so hopefully one or both of them will jump in here and join me at some point. Otherwise, we'll just have to hang out, just you guys and me up here on the panel. So not much of a panel when it's a panel of one. I don't know if you could even still if it still qualifies as such, but here we are hanging out. Normally I would be going around the room and introducing everybody, but I guess we'll just go ahead and take care of the sponsor and jump right in. Oh, never mind. Never mind. Looks like we do have some company after all. Drunk Pinata popping in. There he is. What's up, Pinata? How you doing, buddy? He might be getting his headphones on or something here.
Hello.
Yo, what's up?
How's it sound? This is the first time you're here, and I had to go buy a new audio interface because mine just went dead. So I tried to set up the levels to be about the same. Does it sound about the same?
Yeah, you sound fantastic, honestly.
Sounds like I did yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, just as good, if not better, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, sounds good.
All right, then we're in business.
We are in business. Is that why you weren't live today?
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad
that. And I was like, well, if that thing's not going to work, and you have RFK and Trump doing events, I'm like, why bother?
Yeah.
It was a slow day anyway. I was like, oh, you know what? This will be a good time to just settle this issue.
Yeah, no, that's good you got it figured out, and I'm glad it wasn't anything like more serious that you were dealing with. Never know. To answer your question, Oil Man, he says, does Rise of Tires hats like real tall, like old school trucker hats? No, they're like more like traditional baseball caps with a mesh back. They're super nice. Like I got my pill.net foxhole one on today. I was showing off some of these. I'll show them off again because they are super neat. I got my Trump fight hat. Loving that. I got the Rise Attire logo. Love that. Slave No More. The Ultra Trump or Ultra MAGA rather. That one's badass. And then the Pepe with the riseattire.com underneath. And then of course the 412 Productions one, which is downstairs. I was wearing it out the other day. So but they're all available there on riseattireusa.com. Pinata, did you watch RFK's speech?
Yes, I was listening. I was driving.
Okay, what I heard people say it was pretty good. Is it worth the
Yeah, it
time?
was. I mean, he spoke and with the knowledge and command of the information like we do of
Okay.
about the military industrial complex, the media's complicity and with the Democrats and the Uniparty, like he very much understood and was directly uh telling people about that. I was surprised. I don't know how much of it because when I got home, I rewound it just a little bit to see like MSNBC started carrying it, but as soon as he started endorsing Trump, they cut in and
Yeah, is this the whole speech? Let me see. That's only a minute 19 seconds. That's
I
only
mean, the
19.
whole thing was probably about 45 minutes. I mean, he was
Uh,
going quite a while.
all right, so it's pretty
The
long.
first 15 minutes would be good if you want to play it.
All right, I'm gonna try and find
If
out.
you were consider playing it, like that first 15 minutes of
Yeah,
him right before he endorses, and he does a really good job of explaining how the Democrats have completely lost it.
okay, yeah, we'll definitely dip into that for sure. What else is going on, man? Anything else you wanna bring up or talk about before we go into until we go into sponsors and check out the first part of this RFK Jr. speech?
Well, I guess just go ahead and do sponsors, and then we'll start getting into stuff. Because I didn't really as I didn't do a show, I didn't really see anything yet, other than just the event itself happening.
All right, fair enough. We'll definitely do it that way then. All right. Well, everyone here probably already knows who the sponsor is and what they have to offer, so we'll kind of jump through it pretty quickly here. But it is Earth Garden Botanicals up in Montana. Our friend Jolene, she's a total badass. She runs this company. She's a patriot, a herbalist, a health coach. She's fantastic, and she makes amazing wellness products. Sold on her website, earthgardenbotanicals.com. Go check it out. You got things like your CBD and hemp products, all organically, all the ingredients are organically and locally grown on small Montana farms. Check out the tinctures, the CBD oil for pets, your Delta 8 gummies to help you get a good night's sleep, and of course, the Arnica salve as well for your sore joints and muscles with or without CBD infused. You got elderberry tonic for your immune system, fire cider to help clear your sinuses. You have the white pine needle extract and the sunshine pine needle tea for some detox, get your critter juice to keep the mosquitoes away. All this stuff is fantastic. And you get for 10% off when you use promo code 412 at checkout. So go to earthgardenbotanicals.com, load up that cart, say hi to Jolene. And as always, a big thank you to all of you guys out there who continue to support Jolene and this channel by supporting our sponsors. So again, that's earthgardenbotanicals.com, promo code 412 at checkout for 10% off your order. If you're watching on pill.net, and I hope you are, please hit that red pill button and repost the show and share the link. Those of you guys watching on Rumble, please give us a thumbs up and share that link as well. I see yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right in then to he said the first 15 minutes or so. I think we can handle that. Let's take a listen. I was curious to hear what he was going to say, and I didn't get a chance to watch it today, so I'm going to catch up with you guys here a little bit, and we'll figure out a good stopping place. But I think this is a pretty important thing to cover on the show. So let's jump on
And
in.
I heard it, so I can let you know when.
Yeah, just jump in and yeah, just jump in and let me know.
I'm sorry to keep everybody waiting. 16 months ago, in April of 2023, I launched my campaign for President of the United States. I began this journey as a Democrat, the party of my father, my uncle, the party which I pledged my own allegiance to long before I was old enough to vote. I attended my first Democratic convention at the age of 6 in 1960. And back then, the Democrats were the champions of the Constitution, of civil rights. The Democrats stood against authoritarianism, against censorship, against colonialism, imperialism, and unjust wars. We were the party of labor, of the working class. The Democrats were the party of government transparency and the champion of the environment. Our party was the bulwark against big money interests and corporate power. True to its name, it was the party of democracy. As you know, I left that party in October because it had departed so dramatically from the core values that I grew up with. It had become the party of war, censorship, corruption, big pharma, big tech, big ag, and big money. When it abandoned democracy by canceling the primary to
I love that he added big agriculture. That's huge. That's like a battle that most people haven't even begun to really fight yet. I like that he mentioned
He
that.
goes into really big detail later about how a lot of what this agriculture and this manufacturing does is as far as keep as our health. His big thing is he thinks that's chronic disease. The type of things that are there. Of course, he gets into vaccines and autism. He gets into more detail later about each of these passions projects that he had, and that Trump was going to bring him into the fold for those. And but you just keep going for now.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Adel.
Hey, what's
I
up,
just jumped on to say hello, happy Friday, have a great weekend. I can't stay. There's company that's coming over in about an hour, and I'm glad you started out with RFK, because the main thing that I was not, and I'll make this comment, I was not as much looking forward to his endorsement of Trump if he does it. And presumably he did that in the filing in Pennsylvania. But it's what he said about the Democrats, and he started saying it, and that was going to be the most important thing of his speech, was how he spoke of the Democrat Party, and he's laying it out.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think there's a lot of Democrats and moderates that will be interested in this, and it'll have an effect. It'll definitely have.
It'll be interesting because he's carrying 5 points on the battleground states, 5+ points on the battleground states, and he's got a lot of.
So, well, Tien, what he said in this, have you seen it?
No, I have not.
Okay, what he said was he's withdrawing his name from the ballot in the battleground states, so that he doesn't become a spoiler, but he's staying on in all the safely red states, so people can vote if they would like to. So therefore, because he thinks it's going to go to 269, that he might have a chance for, get this. I mean, not likely, but I'm just saying that was what he said. So his plan was to throw his support behind Trump and then not be available on the ballots in the battleground states, so that to help Trump.
So, well, not only to help Trump, but he cannot be blamed for the results.
Yeah,
right.
That makes sense,
because that's what they'll do. But again, to me, it's a good strategy, and I'm wondering if he came up with it on his own. I don't mean himself. I mean with collaboration wise, right? But the main thing here is what he's starting to, and as far as I've listened so far is, and this is the first I've heard it, is that's where I was curious about. That's where I think that the ball game is what he says about the Democrats, and he laid it out. They're the party of not what he was for.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah.
Anyways, with that, I'll bid you adieu. Have a great weekend. Sorry I can't stay. I totally forgot I had invited people over today, and they're coming over at 5, so I got to get ready.
No worries, Tian. Have an awesome time with your friends and a great weekend, and look forward to catching up with you on Monday, buddy.
Yep, copy that. Talk to you later.
All right, there he goes. The OG of OGs, Tennessee homesteader. All right, let's just keep this rolling.
Can seal the cognitive decline of the sitting president, I left the party to run as an independent. The mainstream of American politics and journalism derided my decision. Conventional wisdom said that it would be impossible even to get on the ballot as an independent because each state poses an insurmountable tangle of arbitrary rules for collecting signatures. I would need over 1 million signatures, something no presidential candidate in history had ever achieved. And then I'd need a team of attorneys and millions of dollars to handle all the legal challenges from the DNC. The naysayers told us that we were climbing a glass version of Mount Impossible. So the first thing I want to tell you is that we proved them wrong. We did it because beneath the radar of mainstream media organs, we inspired a massive independent political movement. More than 100,000 volunteers sprang into action, hopeful that they could reverse our nation's decline. Many worked 10-hour days, sometimes in blizzards and blazing heat. They sacrificed family time, personal commitments, and sleep month after month, energized by a shared vision of a nation healed of its divisions. They set up tables at churches and farmers' markets. They canvassed door to door. In Utah and in New Hampshire, volunteers collected signatures in snowstorms, convincing each supporter to stop in the frigid cold, to take off their gloves, and to sign legibly. During a heat wave in Nevada, I met a tall, athletic volunteer who cheerfully told me that he had lost 25 pounds collecting signatures in 117-degree heat. To finance this effort, young Americans donated their lunch money, and senior citizens gave up part of their Social Security checks. Our 50-state organization collected those millions of signatures and more. No presidential campaign in American political history has ever done that. And so I want to thank all of those dedicated volunteers and congratulate the campaign staff who coordinated this enormous logistical feat. Your accomplishments were regarded as impossible. You carried me up that glass mountain. You pulled off a miracle. You achieved what all the pundits said could never be done. You have my deepest gratitude, and I'm never going to forget that, not just for what you did for my campaign, but for the sacrifices you made because you love our country. You showed everyone that democracy is still possible here. It continues to survive in the press and in the idealistic human energies that still thrive beneath a canvas of neglect and of official and institutional corruption. Today, I'm here to tell you that I will not allow your efforts to go to waste. I'm here to tell you that I will leverage your tremendous accomplishments to serve the ideals that we share, the ideals of peace, of prosperity, of freedom, of health, all the ideals that motivated my campaign. I'm here today to describe the path forward that you've opened with your commitment and with your hard labors. Now, in an honest system, I believe that I would have won the election. In a system the kind that my father and my uncles thrived in, a system with open debates, with fair primaries, with regularly scheduled debates, with fair primaries, and with a truly independent media untainted by government propaganda and censorship. In a system of nonpartisan courts and election boards, everything would be different. After all, the polls consistently showed me beating each of the other candidates, both in favorability and also in head-to-head matchups. But I'm sorry to say that while democracy may still be alive at the grassroots, it has become little more than a slogan for our political institutions, for our media, and for our government, and most sadly at all for me, for the Democratic Party. In the name of saving democracy, the Democratic Party set itself to dismantling it, lacking confidence in its candidate, that its candidate could win in a fair election at the voting booth. The DNC waged continual legal warfare against both President Trump and myself. Each time that our volunteers turned in those towering boxes of signatures needed to get on the ballot, the DNC dragged us into court, state after state, attempting to erase their work and to subvert the will of the voters who had signed those petitions. It deployed DNC-aligned judges to throw me and other candidates off the ballot and to throw President Trump in jail. It ran a sham primary that was rigged to prevent any serious challenge to President Biden. Then, when a predictably bungled debate performance precipitated the palace coup against President Biden, the same shadowy DNC operatives appointed his successor, also without an election. They installed a candidate who was so unpopular with voters that she dropped out in 2020 without winning a single delegate. My uncle and my father both relished debate. They prided themselves on their capacity to go toe-to-toe with any opponent in the battle over ideas. They would be astonished to learn of a Democratic Party presidential nominee who, like Vice President Harris, has not appeared in a single interview or an unscripted encounter with voters for 35 days. This is profoundly undemocratic. How are people to choose when they don't know whom they are choosing? And how can this look to the rest of the world? My father and my uncle were always conscious of America's image abroad because of our nation's role as the template for democracy, the role model for democratic processes, and the leader of the free world. Instead of showing us her substance and character, the DNC and its media organs engineered a surge of popularity for Vice President Harris based upon, well, nothing. No policies, no interviews, no debates, only smoke and mirrors and balloons in a highly produced Chicago circus. There in Chicago, a string of Democratic speakers mentioned Donald Trump 147 times just on the first day. Oh, who needs a policy when you have Trump to hate? In contrast, at the RNC convention, President Biden was mentioned only twice in 4 days. I do interviews every day. Many of you have interviewed me. Anybody who asks gets to interview me. Some days I do as many as 10. President Trump, who actually was nominated and won an election, also does interviews daily. How did the Democratic Party choose a candidate that has never done an interview or debate during the entire election cycle? We know the answers. They did it by weaponizing the government agencies. They did it by abandoning democracy. They did it by suing the opposition and by disenfranchising American voters. What most alarms me isn't how the Democratic Party conducts its internal affairs or runs its candidates. What alarms me is the resort to censorship and media control and the weaponization of the federal agencies. When a U.S. president colludes with or outright coerces media companies to censor political speech, it's an attack on our most sacred right of free expression, and that's the very right upon which all of our other constitutional rights rest. President Biden mocked Vladimir Putin's 88% landslide in the Russian elections, observing that Putin and his party controlled the Russian press and that Putin prevented serious opponents from appearing on the ballot. But here in America, the DNC also prevented opponents from appearing on the ballot. And our television networks expose themselves as Democratic Party organs. Over the course of more than a year, in a campaign where my poll numbers reached at times in the high 20s, The DNC-allied mainstream media networks maintain a near-perfect embargo on interviews with me. During his 10-month presidential campaign in 1992, Ross Perot gave 34 interviews on mainstream networks. In contrast, during the 16 months since I declared, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN combined gave only 2 live interviews from me. Those networks instead ran a continuous deluge of hit pieces with inaccurate, often vile, pejoratives and defamatory smears. Some of those same networks and colluded with the DNC to keep me off the debate stage. Representatives of those networks are in this room right now, and I'll just take a moment to ask you to consider the many ways that your institutions have abdicated this really sacred responsibility, the duty of a free press to safeguard democracy and to challenge always the party in power. Instead of maintaining that posture of fierce skepticism toward authority, your institutions have made themselves government mouthpieces and stenographers for the organs of power. You didn't alone cause the devolution of American democracy, but you could have prevented it. The Democratic Party's censorship of social media was even more of a naked exercise of executive power. This week, a federal judge, Terry Doty, upheld my injunction against President Biden, calling the White House's censorship project, quote, the most egregious violation of the First Amendment in the history of the United States of America. Doty's previous 155-page decision details how just 37 hours after he took the oath of office, swearing to uphold the Constitution, President Biden and his White House opened up a portal and then invited the CIA, the FBI, CISA, which is a censorship agency, it's the center of the censorship industrial complex, DHS, the IRS, and other agencies to censor me and other political dissidents on social media. Even today, users who try to post my campaign videos to Facebook or YouTube get messages that this content violates community standards. 2 days after Judge Doty rendered his decision this week, Facebook was still attaching warning labels to an online petition calling on ABC to include me in the upcoming debate. They said that violates community standards, their community standards. The mainstream media was once the guardian of the First Amendment and democratic principles, and it's joined this systemic attack on democracy. It also, the media justifies their censorship on the grounds of combating misinformation, but governments and oppressors don't censor lies. They don't fear lies. They fear the truth, and that's what they censor. And I don't want any of this to sound like a personal complaint, because it's not. For me, it's all part of a journey, and it's a journey that I signed up with. But I need to make these observations because I think they're critical for us doing the thing that we need to do as citizens in a democracy to assess where we are in this country and what our democracy still looks like, and the assumptions about U.S. leadership around the globe. And are we living up? Are we really still a role model for democracy in this country? Or have we made it, a kind of a joke? And here's the good news. While mainstream outlets denied me a critical platform, they didn't shut down my ideas, which have especially flourished among young voters and independent voters, thanks to the alternative media. Many months ago, I promised the American people that I would withdraw from the race if I became a spoiler. A spoiler is someone who will alter the outcome of the election but has no chance of winning. In my heart, I no longer believe that I have a realistic path to electoral victory. in the face of this relentless systematic censorship and media control. So I cannot in good conscience ask my staff and volunteers to keep working their long hours or ask my donors to keep giving when I cannot honestly tell them that I have a real path to the White House. Furthermore, our polling consistently showed that by staying on the ballot in the battleground states, I would likely hand the election over to the Democrats, with whom I disagree on the most existential issues: censorship, war, and chronic disease. Oh, I want everyone to know that I am not terminating my campaign. I am simply suspending it and not ending it. My name, my name will remain on the ballot in most states. If you live in a blue state, you can vote for me without harming or helping President Trump or Vice President Harris. In red states, the same will apply. I encourage you to vote for me. And if enough of you do vote for me, and neither of the major party candidates win 270 votes, which is quite possible. In fact, today our polling shows them tying at 269 to 269. And I could conceivably still end up in the White House in a contingent election. But in about 10 battleground states where my presence would be a spoiler, I'm going to remove my name. And I've already started that process and urge voters not to vote for me. It's with a sense of victory and not defeat that I'm suspending my campaign activities. Not only did we do the impossible by collecting 1 million signatures, we changed the national political conversation forever. Chronic disease, free speech, government corruption, breaking our addiction to war have moved to the center of politics. I can say to all who have worked so hard the last year and a half, thank you for a job well done. 3 great causes drove me to enter this race in the first place, primarily. And these are the principal causes that persuaded me to leave the Democratic Party and run as an independent. And now to throw my support to President Trump. The causes were free speech, the war in Ukraine, and the war on our children. I've already described some of my personal experiences and struggles with the government's censorship industrial complex. I want to say a word about the Ukraine war. The military industrial complex.
Okay, so he goes on from here to kind of describe each of the individual ones. And so it goes into here and he says that with the war in Ukraine, he talks about the Boris Johnson going in and spoiling the peace agreement. He talks about Biden sending him in, and that Kamala will have no change in that. And so he's adamant that, or he thinks and believes that Trump will be able to solve the Ukraine thing. So he goes at length about that. Then he gets into the health and about the agriculture and the fact that he did talk with Trump. Trump was already kind of working with someone that was already advising him as well. Okay. And after the assassination attempt on Trump, he ended up reaching out to RFK about starting this kind of talk, I'm assuming, that we're seeing now about helping him having a place, and he was going to include him in the administration. So RFK did say that Trump was going to offer him something to be able to go out these root causes. And he says that part of the reason why, and he knows his wife, Cheryl Hines, and his family is going to take heat for this, but he's saying, look, I can't remember how old he said he was. He's like, I have a decade left. And if the Democrat gets in there, none of the things that I care about or want to fight for will ever be taken care of. He's like, they've already demonstrated that. So he's like, look, this is the only chance that I physically have of outside of the grave to make a difference on these things that I care about. And he believes that Trump is sincere about including him and tackling these issues that they align on. And he says, look, I'm not going to align with everything, on everything, and that's not what I'm not endorsing everything that Trump does or everything that he wants. He's saying I want to tackle these. This is my best last chance in my lifetime to do this. That's why I'm doing this. And so I think even like Keith Olbermann was like, Cheryl Hines is the only last thing to keep RFK uh, from endorsing Trump. So if you never know who she is, she's a big environmentalist, but she's also an actress. She was
Okay.
on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I actually met her once. She was nice. She was nice. We were with some friends of mine, and we're doing an independent movie, and she was one of the people that was there. And I had lent my dog for the day because they were doing some kind of a shot. And they needed a dog for the story,
Yeah, yeah, I recognize her. I just Googled her. Yeah, I recognize her.
and so I ended up interacted with a couple of the people that were there because they were all in the shot, and I was the handler for the dog. And so, but yeah, they were all nice to me. There was only one guy that was a dick, but I don't even remember who he was. He's one of those character actors. You probably recognize him when you saw him. But anyway, I think he was able to justify enough for those causes that that I'm sure between he and his wife, who I'm sure she'll take flack. I mean, she probably not gonna like it, but I think we'll see what happens with that. But obviously, I guess that was not didn't become a factor, or at least he was willing to choose something over, you know, over just a political squabble. And and especially in a marriage, I can feel for him on that.
Sure.
So
No, good for him. I mean, I love the idea of him being like the tip of the spear against like big ag and big pharma, and really having a significant role within the administration, bringing things like the FDA and the NIH and the CDC to heel. And I mean, that's such a huge piece of what the cabal does to manipulate everything is through our food and our medicine, and whatnot. So having someone that understands that realm and has a life goal of fixing that before departing this world, putting him in a position like that in a Trump 2.0 administration, I think could pay huge dividends going forward.
yeah,
You
and
know,
think about all the people that were upset with Trump over warp speed.
yeah,
With him, with including him now.
yeah, yeah. It's a huge step in the right direction, and um, with everything we saw during COVID, I think that there'd be a pretty big mandate from the people to have somebody like RFK Jr. step in and clean shit up in those institutions for sure. So that's great. That's great. Love that. Yeah, I love it. I'm glad that he's removing himself from the battleground states. I'm glad that he's endorsing Donald Trump, and I love the prospect of him being in the Trump administration in some capacity to go after some of those passion projects. Because the stuff that he seems most passionate about, Pinata, is aligned, I think, with what a populist America First movement would want, right? Anti-war,
Yeah,
anti-big pharma, big ag,
and
anti.
that's what he went on to go at length about those particular ones. He's like those things that were aligned, and he really believes that our health, we're the unhealthiest nation. He was saying in the world, and he's like the COVID statistics of the people who died with 3.3.5 comorbidities. Like he's like this isn't something this is just one indicator about how sick we really are. We have these chronic illnesses and disease that shouldn't show up until later in life or showing up in children, right? There's that kind of thing. So he's like, there's clearly something going on with the way that our food is produced, mass produced, preservatives, the whole thing. Just and so him being involved in it seems to be health kind of conscious first. It seems to be very centric on that. So I'm assuming that because he spent so much time in that was what Trump was kind of offering him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Matt says You should play where he goes into the health crisis. He drops some bombs. I'm happy to. How, I don't know how much longer that would be into the video. I mean, I'm happy to spend as much time on this as you guys want to out there. So if you guys want to hear more of this, I'm happy to play more. I just didn't know we're 20 minutes in and there's another 20 or 17 minutes to go. So I mean, we could just finish the rest of it and then go to the second half, or we could just kind of move on to something else. It really doesn't matter to me. It's really up to you guys out in the chat how you want to move forward. Matt's vote is to keep listening. What do you guys say out there? I wouldn't mind hearing it myself. I didn't get to see this earlier, so I was kind of enjoying.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you can get, obviously you got get over the way he speaks, but what he says and the words he says is very well put together.
Let's keep going with this for a minute.
Flex has provided us with a familiar comic book justification like they do on every war, that this one is a noble effort to stop a supervillain, Vladimir Putin, from invading the Ukraine and then to thwart his Hitler-like march across Europe. In fact, tiny Ukraine is a proxy in a geopolitical struggle initiated by the ambitions of the U.S. neocons for American global hegemony. I'm not excusing Putin for invading Ukraine. He had other options. But the war is Russia's predictable response to the reckless neocon project of extending NATO to encircle Russia, a hostile act. The credulous media rarely explain to Americans that we unilaterally walked away from 2 intermediate nuclear weapons treaties with Russia and then put nuclear-ready Aegis missile systems in Romania and Poland. This is a hostile act. And that the Biden White House repeatedly spurned Russia's offer to settle this war peacefully. The Ukraine war began in 2014 when U.S. agencies overthrew the democratically elected government of Ukraine and installed a hand-picked pro-Western government that launched a deadly civil war against ethnic Russians in Ukraine. In 2019, America walked away from a peace treaty, the Minsk Agreement, that had been negotiated between Russia and Ukraine by European nations. And then in April of 2022, we wanted the war. In April of 2022, President Biden sent Boris Johnson to Ukraine to force President Zelensky to tear up a peace agreement that he and the Russians had already signed, and the Russians were withdrawing troops from Kiev and Donbass and Lugansk. And that peace agreement would have brought peace to the region and would have allowed Donbass and Lugansk to remain part of Ukraine. President Biden stated that month that his objective in the war was regime change in Russia. His Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, simultaneously explained that America's purpose in the war was to exhaust the Russian army, to degrade its capacity to fight anywhere else in the world. These objectives, of course, have nothing to do with what they were telling Americans about protecting Ukraine's sovereignty. Ukraine is a victim in this war, and it's a victim of the West. Since then, of Russia and both Russia and the West. Since then, we have, since tearing up that agreement, forcing Zelensky to tear up the agreement, we've squandered the flower of Ukrainian youth, as many as 600,000 Ukrainian kids and over 100,000 Russian kids, all of whom we should be mourning, have died, and the Ukraine's infrastructure is destroyed. The war has been a disaster for our country as well. We squandered nearly $200 billion already, and these are badly needed dollars in our communities, suffering communities all over our country. The Nord Stream pipeline sabotage and the sanctions have destroyed Europe's industrial base, which formed the bulwark of U.S. national security. A strong Germany with a strong industry is a much, much stronger deterrent to Russia and a Germany that is deindustrialized and turned into just an extension of a U.S. military base. We've pushed Russia into a disastrous alliance with China and Iran. We're closer to the brink of nuclear exchange than at any time since 1962. And the neocons in the White House don't seem to care at all. Our moral authority and our economy are in shambles. And the war gave rise to the emergence of BRICS, which now threatens to replace the dollar as the global reserve currency. This is a first-class calamity for our country. Judging by her bellicose, belligerent speech last night in Chicago, we can assume that President Harris will be an enthusiastic advocate for this and other neocon military adventures. And President Trump says that he will reopen negotiations with President Putin and end the war overnight as soon as he becomes president. This alone would justify my support for his campaign. Last summer, it looked like no candidate was willing to negotiate a quick end to the Ukraine war, to tackle chronic disease epidemic, to protect free speech, our constitutional freedoms, to clean corporate influence out of our government, or to defy the neocons and their agenda of endless military adventurism. But now one of the two candidates has adopted these issues as his own, to the point where he has asked to enlist me in his administration. I'm speaking, of course, of Donald Trump. Less than 2 hours after President Trump narrowly escaped assassination, Callie Means called me on my cell phone. I was then in Las Vegas. Callie is arguably the leading advocate for food safety, for soil regeneration, and for ending the chronic disease epidemic that is destroying America's health and ruining our economy. Callie has exposed the insidious corruption at the FDA, the NIH, the HHS, and the USDA that has caused the epidemic. Callie had been working on and off for my campaign, advising me on those subjects since the beginning. And those subjects have been my primary focus for the last 20 years. I was delighted when Callie told me that day that he had also been advising President Trump. He told me President Trump was anxious to talk to me about chronic disease and other subjects, and to explore avenues of cooperation. He asked if I would take a call from the president. President Trump telephoned me a few minutes later, and I met with him the following day. A few weeks later, I met again with President Trump and his family members and closest advisors in Florida. In a series of long, intense discussions, I was surprised to discover that we are aligned on many key issues. In those meetings, he suggested that we join forces as a unity party. We talked about Abraham Lincoln's team of rivals. That arrangement would allow us to disagree publicly and privately, and fiercely, if need be, on issues over which we differ, while working together on the existential issues upon which we are in concordance. I was a ferocious critic of many of the policies during his first administration, and there are still issues and approaches upon which we continue to have very serious differences. But we are aligned with each other on other key issues, like ending the forever wars, ending the childhood disease epidemics, securing the border, protecting freedom of speech, unraveling the corporate capture of our regulatory agencies, getting the U.S. intelligence agencies out of the business of propagandizing and censoring and surveilling Americans and interfering with our elections. Following my first discussion with President Trump, I tried unsuccessfully to open similar discussions with Vice President Harris. Vice President Harris declined to meet or even to speak with me. Suspending my candidacy is a heart-rending decision for me, but I'm convinced that it's the best hope are ending the Ukraine war and ending the chronic disease epidemic that is eroding our nation's vitality from the inside, and for finally protecting free speech. I feel a moral obligation to use this opportunity to save millions of American children, above all things. In case some of you don't realize how dire the condition is of our children's health and chronic disease in general, I would urge you to view Dr. Carlson's recent interview with Callie Means and his sister, Dr. Casey Means, who is the top graduate of her class at Stanford Medical School. This is an issue that affects all of us far more directly and urgently than any culture war issue and all the other issues that we obsess on and that are tearing apart our country. This is the most important issue. Therefore, it has the potential to bring us together. So let me share a little bit about why I believe it's so urgent. Today, 2/3, we spend more on healthcare than any country on earth, twice what they pay in Europe. And yet we have the worst health outcomes of any nation in the world. We're about 79th in health outcomes behind Costa Rica and Nicaragua and Mongolia and other countries. Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. And during the COVID epidemic, we had the highest body count of any country in the world. We had 16% of the COVID deaths, and we only have 4.2% of the world's population. And CDC says that's because we are the sickest people on earth. We have the highest chronic disease rate on earth. And the average American who died from COVID had 3.8 chronic diseases. So these were people who had immune system collapse, who had mitochondrial dysfunction. And no other country has anything like this. 2/3 of American adults and children suffer from chronic health issues. 50 years ago, that number was less than 1%. So we've gone from 1% to 66%. In America, 74% of Americans are now overweight or obese, and 50% of our children. 120 years ago, when somebody was obese, they were sent to the circus. There were case reports done about them. Obesity was almost unknown. In Japan, the childhood obesity rate is 3% compared to 50% here. Half of Americans have pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. When my uncle was president, I was a boy. Juvenile diabetes was effectively non-existent. A typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes during his entire career, a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic. And the mitochondrial disorder that caused diabetes also causing Alzheimer's, which is now classified as diabetes. And it's costing this country more than our military budget every year. There's been an explosion of neurological illnesses that I never saw as a kid: ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, Tourette syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, Asperger's, autism. In the year 2000, the autism rate was 1 in 1,500. Now, autism rates in kids are 1 in 36, according to CDC nationally. Nobody's talking about this. 1 in every 22 kids in California has autism. And this is a crisis that 77% of our kids are too disabled to serve in the United States military. What is happening to our country? And why isn't this in the headlines every single day? There's nobody else in the world that is experiencing this. This is only happening in America. About 18%, and by the way, there has been no change in diagnosis, which the industry sometimes like to say. There has been no change in screening. This is a change in incidence. In my generation, 70-year-old men, the autism rates are about 1 in 10,000. In my kids' generation, 1 in 34. I'll repeat, in California, 1 in 22. Why are we letting this happen? Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? These are the most precious assets that we have in this country. How can we let this happen to them? About 18% of American teens now have fatty liver disease. That's like 1 out of every 5. That disease, when I was a kid, only affected late-stage alcoholics who were elderly. Cancer rates are skyrocketing in the young and the old. Young adult cancers are up 79%. 1 in 4 American women is on antidepressant medication. 40% of teens have a mental health diagnosis. And 15% of high schoolers are on Adderall, and 500,000 children on SSRIs. So what's causing this suffering? I'll name 2 culprits. First, and the worst, is ultra-processed food. About 70% of American children's diet is ultra-processed. That means industrial manufactured in a factory. These foods consist primarily of processed sugar, ultra-processed grains, and seed oils. Laboratory scientists many of them formerly worked for the cigarette industry, which purchased all the big food companies in the 1970s and 80s, deployed thousands of scientists to figure out new chemicals to make the food more addictive. And these ingredients didn't exist 100 years ago. Humans aren't biologically adapted to eat them. Hundreds of these chemicals are now banned in Europe, but ubiquitous in American processed foods. The second culprit is toxic chemicals in our food, our medicine, and our environment. Pesticides, food additives, pharmaceutical drugs, and toxic waste permeate every cell of our bodies. The assault on our children's cells and hormones is unrelenting. To name just one problem, many of these chemicals increase estrogen because young children are ingesting so many of these hormone disruptors. America's puberty rate is now occurring at age 10 to 13, which is 6 years earlier than girls were reaching puberty in 1900. Our country has the earliest puberty rates of any continent on the earth. And no, this isn't because of better nutrition. This is not normal. Breast cancer is also estrogen-driven, and it now strikes 1 in 8 women. We are mass poisoning all of our children and our adults. Considering the grievous human cost of this tragic epidemic of chronic disease, it seems almost crass to mention the damage it does to our economy. But I'll say, it is crippling the nation's finances. When my uncle was president, our country spent $0 on chronic disease. Today, government healthcare spending is almost all for chronic disease. And it's double the military budget. And it is the fastest growing budget item in the federal budget. And chronic disease costs more to the economy as a whole, costs at least $4 trillion, 5 times our military budget. And that's a 20% drag on everything we do and everything we aspire to. Poor and minority communities suffer disproportionately. People who worry about DEI or about bigotry of any kind, this dwarfs anything.
All right, everyone. The big.
All right, so it looks like it cuts it off a little short, but it's kind of perfect timing because we do have to go do our halfway little break here. That was excellent stuff. We'll kind of recap on the other side, and we'll get into some other things here as we head to the final hour of our Friday broadcast, which will be available exclusively on pill.net. There's a link for getting over there in the Rumble description. I'm going to throw it in the chats on DLive and Rumble as well, like I do every show. If you can't get to those links for whatever reason, just go to pill.net in your browser and find us at 412 Productions. I'll play a quick little video, and we'll be right back on the other side to officially shut down the other platforms and read your Gold Pill chats. So see you guys in 60 seconds.
Pill.net is proud to host 412 Productions, exclusively on the true home of free speech. To continue watching the show, we are here to help you over to Pilled. If you're new to the platform, Just click on the welcome link provided. It will then automatically walk you through signing up for your free account. If you already have a Pill.net account, follow the link provided directing you straight to 412 Productions channel. We are excited to have you join the Pilled family, and if you have any questions at all, please email support@Pill.net. Enjoy the rest of 412 Productions on Pill.net. Free speech lives here.
All right, and we are back. As always, a huge thank you to all of you out there who continue to jump over from the other platforms to hang out with us for hour number 2 over on Pilled. Those of you who won't be joining us, as always, no worries. We will be back on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to kick off another week of Deplorable Discussions. We've got Craig Mason of Reasonable TV on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we'll have 45-1 Actual, the No Prisoners podcast crew all hanging out with us on Wednesday. So lots of good stuff coming next week. Make sure you guys tune in. We'll be going live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, jump over to Pill.net if you want to keep watching. Those links are in the Rumble description, Rumble live chat, and in the D live chat for you guys, or go to Pill.net in your browser. Find us at 412 Productions. Hope to see you guys over there. If not, have a great Friday night and a wonderful weekend. And I hope to see you all on Monday.